the power of not having all the answers, and embracing risk to create the future that we all need. So I think first and foremost was being lucky enough early in my career to work for very large global brands and travel to factories. I mean, I'm talking the 90s, travel to factories in Asia, and really seeing the process at a global scale and the end-to-end process. And I think when you see that, for me, as a curious person, there was more questions than answers. I think one of the big things that I found really challenging to get my head around was creating product to just fill a store or minimum order quantities with the hope that it would sell, which for me created a lot more questions than answers. I was probably that annoying early years designer that just was constantly curious. But that's where I was like, surely we can do things better than this. So it started from the very beginning, to be honest. So I think first and foremost, it's the importance of investment in R&D or innovation hubs. And when I say innovation hubs, I don't mean an innovation team that is sort of dragged into the day to day. I really mean something that is separated off, that isn't stuck in constant meeting cycles, and is able to experiment and pilot and roll out processes for the business or products. I think this is really key in where we're at today, because we're in a space where so many businesses are struggling. But when you look under the hood, they're doing the same old thing, expecting different results. I would say the same for a lot of leadership courses as well. So we are in a space where we need a different approach to leadership, but also a different approach to team structure. So that would be the number one thing. And when we look at Nike as themselves, I would say, they had obviously a big history designing trainers and a successful history in doing that in one way. But a traditional trainer has like 40 plus components cut out of rolled goods. The waste at scale for these companies is incredible. But what they did was took a risk on a completely new method of make through having innovation hubs, through having R&D that is zero waste. And I really believe that just taking that approach of taking people out of the day-to-day and to answer the difficult questions. Yes, we're successful at doing this one way, but we're damaging our planet. How can we create a different way? And yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned for many, many companies with that. I think we've got into a habit of being always on, and that could be back-to-back Zoom meetings. I see this a lot as an executive coach. Often the problem that a lot of executives, leaders, founders come to me with is they say a lack of time. And that can be often time to get to know their team, time to do specific projects. What I find interesting about that is white space is where our ideas come, when we are calm and able to not be on the hamster wheel. It's where our brain connects everything, and there's no happenstance that people say, oh, I get ideas when I go for a run or napping. And I feel like, again, when you have that space for R&D away from the hamster wheel, that is where the eureka and the most important strategies for your business can come from. Yeah, I think the main thing I often say is this is not a band-aid solution. It's not just hiring one ESG expert or someone with sustainability in the title. It should be absolutely something foundational that goes throughout your company and your organization and sits in everybody's strategies and everybody's KPIs. Because the problem is with a siloed approach, if it's the ESG or sustainability team, it's just seen as something that everyone doesn't need to worry about. And I think as humans, we do in general not like change. And you can really see that with things that such as legislation coming in for sustainability. The EU, for example, are very clear on the legislation and when it's coming in. For example, digital product passports. And these are showing the ingredients of everything that is in a product. It is not new news that this is coming in 2027. But if I could tell you how many brands haven't even started looking at this, it is insane. So I really think if it's everybody's priority to work to this, you will have a strategy, you won't be scrambling, and you ultimately won't be fined for not adhering to these things or end up hurting your bottom line. So it is really important that it is everybody's strategy and everybody's foundational approach. Yeah. First and foremost, I want to inspire both leaders and teams to embrace new ways of working, to create positive, inspiring, creative team cultures. And with this paradigm shift in how we work, but also in how we make, I really do believe we can make better for all and move away from burnout culture or this damaging product creation cycle that we actually are in. Really going away with the feeling that as humans, we should slow down to speed up, take stock, and be comfortable with the unknown, almost the antidote to blank paper syndrome, the power of not having all the answers, and embracing risk to create the future that we all need.